Welcome back to Wake Up America. Accused quadruple Idaho murderer Bryan Kohberger is expected to head back to Idaho from Pennsylvania, where he will face charges related to the fatal stabbing of the 4 University of Idaho students. For more on this, let's welcome in trial attorney Joe Tacopina. Joe, thanks for joining us today. So Bryan appeared in court yesterday, waiving his right to an extradition hearing. What do you make of his agreement to return to Idaho to face these charges?
Morning, Allison. What I make of it is he wants to understand what they have on him. The only way this probable cause affidavit, this search warrant affidavit gets revealed is once he returns to Idaho. That's the law of that state. It's a sort of unique law, but that's how it works there. That being said, for him to understand, his lawyers or investigators to understand the evidence against him, the weight of the evidence, he needs to be extradited expeditiously, and that's why I think he waived it.
Yeah, let's talk about that affidavit. So when do you expect that to be released? Is it the day he gets back to Idaho? And what will we hear with that? Because I know that the police chief has been interviewed and he's basically not giving a lot of information, which makes sense, obviously. But what will we hear from that, and when do you expect to hear of that?
It doesn't get released today. He gets back to Idaho. Conceivably, he could be back in Idaho by tomorrow. It gets unsealed when he appears before a judge in Idaho, which, could be another week or who knows how long. It's been a long time in the making. This case has been, sort of puzzling the American public and captivating our attention for, 7 weeks? People are anxious to see why they think, or why they're sure, if you will, that this guy is the murderer. And I think that affidavit is going to answer all of our very substantial questions about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just wondering what was the motive. Kohberger's lawyers had sent defense investigators to the crime scene. What type of information do you think that they were gathering there? What is the purpose of all of this?
I mean, honestly, who knows? I don't think at the crime scene right now, again, without knowing what the prosecution's theory is, what their evidence is, what they're claiming they have, it's hard to understand why investigators would go out to the crime scene other than to photograph, document the crime scene. I mean, which is standard operating procedure. I'm not criticizing it, but I don't think it's going to have much value at this point. I mean, the crime scene has obviously been preserved, but the evidence has been preserved also. And so whatever's there is there. I think they were just, doing what little they can do at this point without having any information, which is to make sure that they've documented the crime scene.
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of people waiting for those answers. I know that the death penalty does exist in Idaho, so we'll see what happens. Joe Tacopina, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Allison, thank you.
Of course, and still ahead, it's the final day of